What I mean by Superman and the immigrant problem is that if you are so enthusiastic to claim that Superman is an illegal immigrant, then you have to accept what comes with that.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I am the Brooklyn Bridge, the wheatlands of Kansas, and the granite hills of Vermont. I am the coal fields of the Virginias and Pennsylvania, the fertile lands of the West, the Golden Gate and Grand Canyon. I am Independence Hall, the Monitor. I am the Merrimack. I'm big. I sprawl from the Atlantic to the Pacific. My arms reach out to embrace Hawaii and Alaska. 3 million square miles. I'm more than 3 million farms. I'm forest, field, mountain, desert. I'm quiet villages, and I'm cities that never sleep.
This video is a direct continuation of my previous one, Superman's personification of America. It's no secret that America has seen quite the divide in the last 15 years, probably longer, but at least we all had some semblance of an external threat prior to about 2008, or maybe more accurately 2012. But of course the conflict has turned internal, and every day the empire seems to be collapsing on itself. But we have so many that cheer against us, that cheer against the nation, even the nation they were born in. Any sense of nationality or common mythology has been robbed from these people. They have been taught to believe that that is evil, for God knows how many reasons. However, you see the enemies and the traitors of America try to infiltrate our myths on a regular basis. Whether that's debasing and ridiculing Homelander in the most out-of-character means, or pacifying and emasculating the Superman to such an insane degree that it's unwatchable. Regardless, the enemies and traitors of America attempt to hijack every myth so they can redefine it. In the last video, I talked about how America's identity is so intertwined with Superman's personification of it that essentially whatever the Superman becomes, whatever the American Ubermensch becomes, is what the American man becomes. Because he's the Superman. He's the Superman. And so it's supposed to be aspirational. If you've seen Man of Steel, you'll know that the oil rig scene is an elaborate allegory for Moses coming to the burning bush. Superman sees the oil rig unconsumed but inflamed and runs to it because it's his calling to save the powerless people of the world. But thereafter you see him rip a steel door out of the frame and step into the room completely engulfed in flames. And the men trapped on the oil rig just stare at him as he stands there flaming before them but unconsumed. Because that is man's burning bush, to become the Superman. So this is why the enemies and traitors of America so fervently, so avidly, and so viciously seek to hijack our mythology. It's why they say Superman's an illegal immigrant, because they want to disconnect Superman from the American identity. However, Superman is inseparable from the American identity because he is the personification of the nation. They go hand in hand. However, he also wasn't born on Earth either. He wasn't born in America. He wasn't born in Kansas. He wasn't born to Jonathan and Martha Kent. He does come from another planet, but if I put a baby on a ship, a newborn baby on a ship, and sail it across the ocean, and it lands in wherever, that baby didn't immigrate there. That baby was sent there. And so whoever comes across it will discover this foundling. That's what Superman truly is a foundling. According to U.S. law, which I'll put on the screen, but according to U.S. law, when the Kents found Superman, he was under the age of 5 years old and of unknown parentage. Legally, that makes Superman an American citizen under the guise of U.S. law. So Superman is inseparable from the American identity because that upbringing in Kansas is what makes Superman Superman. the expansive oceanic farmland of America is what creates the Superman, because that is the heart of the nation, which provides it with its sustenance. It provides it with all its food, all the corn. That is where all of our crops come from. And so Superman sustains the American identity, just as American farmers sustain the nation. Superman sustains that American identity by being portrayed properly, by being portrayed as a selfless, altruistic hero, but also by being portrayed as someone who came here and fully became American, fully became of Earth. Superman's immigrant status is best portrayed by the magnificent Man of Steel. No other Superman story captures it nearly as well. Superman is sent here on the day he is born. Jor-El timed Krypton's explosion and Kal's birth, and had previously discovered Earth. Jor-El intentionally sent him here. He knew he would be safe here. He knew he would become powerful. But he knew that Kal had to know what it meant to be a man first. Not that he had many other options other than to send him the day that Krypton met its demise. But if his only son was to live on another planet, he knew that he would need to assimilate and live amongst them, experience life as they do. And so Superman's immigrant status between nations is represented planetarily. He is sent here from Krypton, discovered as a foundling, becomes a citizen through the Kents. And through that time, he has to hide his power. Jonathan Kent knows this better than nobody else when he makes the most noble sacrifice of all and protects his son's freedom of choice when he sacrifices himself to the tornado. Through hiding his powers, Clark, Kal, Superman is isolating himself into the human experience, into the experience of a man, and into the experience of specifically a Kansas corn-fed American man. But then his people arrive. Zod arrives and he threatens his planet, he threatens his way of life. However, Superman screams to Zod, telling him that Krypton had its chance. Krypton had its chance to prosper. But because of the Kryptonian shortcomings, they lived amongst desolation and waste. And when Superman's people showed up to invade, he defended his adopted home because he had fully become a member of his adopted home. That is the model immigrant. That is the Superman for the immigrant. However, as I have discussed in many previous videos, especially my early ones, forgive the learning curve and editing skill, but there's quite rich material in those early videos because I mostly talk about how in the field of time, outside of the Garden of Eden, where everything exists in a duality, Superman exists as all duality simultaneously. He's God and man, he's human and alien, he's rural and urban, he's savior and destroyer. So let's focus on that last part. There have been many exceptional men that have came from elsewhere to America, became American, and then thrived due to the prosperity allowed by our invulnerability. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the first example that comes to mind, but there are many more. So, because Superman experiences these dual identities at all times, because he is in that elevated position of man, because he experiences those dualities simultaneously, sure, he could be the perfect assimilating immigrant. However, an immigrant and an invader are much different things. An invader is anyone who comes into a land foreign to them, ill-intentioned, seeking to conquer and destroy. Superman's ability to do that is unmatched by any force in the universe. So when you think about what that represents mythologically, invaders to a nation have unparalleled power when it comes to their destructive capability. No matter what nation this is independent of specifics. So Superman and the immigrant problem is that if any liberal or whoever just wants to leave our doors unlocked, wants to proclaim that America's grandest myth is here illegally, then you must also accept that this person has the potential to do the most damage possible. So if you want to proudly proclaim that Superman is an illegal immigrant, then you must also accept the potential destruction that you bring with it. The depths of Superman's personification and mythologization of America is far too expansive to cover tonight. But the truth would be that Superman is an American citizen through the law, through comics not written by propagandists, and through the best movies ever made about him. And from this point, justice would be to reclaim these myths and to redefine what it means to be the Superman in the modern day, and to figure out how we can offer the American way to those who seek our protectorship and wish to assimilate. My name is Tristan Fields. Thank you and good night.